Welcome, folks, to DZone's Generative AI Virtual Roundtable. My name is Jesse. I am the Chief Technologist here at DZone and super excited about our talk today. AI technology is more accessible, more intelligent, and easier to use than it's ever been. And generative AI, or GenAI, has transformed every single industry, offering cost savings, reducing manual tasks and administrative tasks. So many benefits that improve overall productivity and efficiency in all types of organizations. The applications of GenAI are expansive, and thanks to the democratization of large language models, or LLMs, AI is reaching every industry all over the planet. We have just released DZone's 2025 Generative AI Trend Report, and we focus specifically on the role of these LLMs over the last year, organizations' adoption maturity, intelligent search capabilities, and a whole lot more, with the hope to guide practitioners all around the globe as they assess their own organization's AI capabilities. And we want to come together and ideate and discuss how we can better leverage this technology at our own organizations. I am super excited to have a panel of experts that you can see here with me today. So I'd love to introduce them as we get started. First up, Boris, leading architect at Cloud Astro, wrote the article, A Comprehensive Guide to Protect Data, Models, and Users in the GenAI Era. Welcome, Boris. Santosh, Principal Software Engineering Manager at Microsoft, wrote the article, Building AI-Driven Intelligent Applications, a Hands-On Development Guide. Awesome, thank you so much. Prateek, Principal Solutions Architect over at Capital One, who wrote the article, Supercharged LLMs, right? Combining retrieval, automated generation, and AI agents to transform business operations. Then we have Matthew, a DevRel engineer over at Couchbase. Welcome. Emil, Product Marketing Manager at Cisco AI Security, and Grant, Vice President of Product over at Vertesia. Now, welcome to all of you. We're so excited to hear your insights. So thankful that you were willing to join us today and offer those up. And as we get started, I want to talk a little bit about AI adoption. So we need to assess where the DZone community is in regards to their own AI journey. Our research findings and reports showed that most organizations are not very advanced with regard to their GenAI maturity. And for 9 out of 10 businesses, this is what got me, deploying GenAI in specific departments and or use cases is the apex, the peak of their adoption. So to get us started, I have a question. What are the ways you've effectively integrated generative AI into your everyday operations and software environments? And Matthew, why don't we start with you?
Sure. Now, I guess we're probably a little bit of an exception. We're a little bit further along the curve here at Couchbase. We put some generative AI into our product last year. It's called Capella IQ. It's just a natural language chat to help you write queries, to help you write SDK code, and even do things like convert queries from other databases into Couchbase's SQL++ language, generate sample data, things like that. So that's something we've been doing for a while, and we're working on our AI services offering, which is currently in preview, which kind of takes it to the next level of the Couchbase data platform. And of course, a lot of our use these days is for RAG use cases. It's a very popular use case that's been around for a while, using Couchbase as a backend, integrating with a number of frameworks like LangChain. So we are definitely spending a lot of time and investment on AI and LLMs.
Very cool. Grant, what about you? What are you seeing over there at Vertesia?
Yeah, at Vertesia, we're a software company, and we make a generative AI platform. So you might expect that generative AI, is in our DNA. We eat, sleep, and breathe it.
Hope so. Yeah.
So we're using generative AI, heavily in the software development lifecycle, for example. We of course use package tools with generative AI integration like GitHub Copilot, Cloud Code. But then we also have built custom GenAI solutions that are specific to our development and product processes. So things like code summarization and code review, test case generation, generating internal and public release notes, generating technical documentation. So all of those things that are traditionally, manual and labor intensive, engineering or product tasks.
Very cool. So Yes, you are way further along than 9 of
Yeah, we're
10.
maybe ahead of the curve. And then, beyond engineering and product, really every team at Vertigia is using generative AI in some way to boost productivity.
Yeah, Santos, you're a manager. What about your team? What's going on over there?
Yeah, so in Microsoft, like when the OpenAI released the Chat GPT, right? So we were like right there to jump onto the bandwagon, and we have like in my specific team, like I work for Azure SQL, so we started introducing the co-pilots. Like
Hmm.
there's a new SQL Copilot which will be releasing pretty soon. So that will be helpful for the developer to write the SQL queries. Like you just have to provide the prompt in the natural language, and it will identify and it will give you the best performance query right on your dashboard. So that is one thing that we are currently working on. And apart from that, as Grant mentioned, so we are also using the GitHub Copilot. So wherever possible, Microsoft is making sure to introduce more copilots, and it's making my job easy. Where earlier I used to spend like my early the mornings where I used to spend at least 1 hour looking at all the PRs, trying to give code review, comments, suggestions. Now with all these tools, right, it's making my job pretty easy. So it is understanding our code base, and based on that, it is giving the suggestion. So it is like tailored approach to our particular repositories. So that is one thing that we are heavily invested in and heavily using it in our organization.
It's not fair, man. You're totally cheating. If people aren't sitting around figuring out how to do a left outer join syntax properly in SQL, I see all y'all laughing. Y'all know what I'm talking about. You've sat around for
Yeah.
2 hours figuring it out. You're cheating.
Yeah.
You've got to learn how to work for it, Santosh. All right. Well, we'll move. It's in the same vein. Boris, Pratik, any of y'all want to weigh in on this one before I move to the next one?
From my side, we are using AI a lot, especially we are using the in Europe, in Germany, we are using custom solution like LLM from Facebook, from Google, because of the internal region regulation. However, also Microsoft doing great with OpenAI. So we are offering services based on document analysis, Azure AI document, because a lot of customers wants to analyze their documentation and automate this analysis. Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
a part of the digitalization. Also for code generation, it's
Yeah.
also the part. But unfortunately, we have, as you know, a lot of issues with that AI models generate not code with a low quality. Yeah, so some stuff it doesn't exist. So it's like yeah, it's a known issue that it would be nice to discuss. I actually wanted to ask Grant, but maybe later, how they adopting this strategy in their company for the code generation, because even the huge and powerful models still generates low quality code or code which doesn't exist in the world. It's like
I do.
that's my question.
All right, very cool. So
Actually, yeah, so sorry to interrupt. So, real quick thing. So, actually, companies are also investing heavily to identify some of these patterns where earlier the code generation, people were directly using it, like, they were dumping a lot of their secured code into ChatGPT and asking all sorts of, performance related questions and making changes. But then it's not also suitable. Like, we will talk about the security. There is a question about the security as well. So, whenever you generate any code, just make sure that test it properly, run it at least multiple times before pushing it to production. Otherwise, you might have to sit on a Friday evening and solving the issues. So,
well,
I know
that's where I was
one.
going. Hold on, that's where I was going, is security, right? And I know we could talk about this stuff forever, but I'm going to try to keep us on track here, because we do have people who are experts here at security, right? So I want to, Emil's, he's grinning a little bit. He knows I'm talking about him. But as we're getting started and moving into the security, talk a little bit, you got to be careful because what we saw in these reports and stuff is Gen AI has led to organizations adopting it before ensuring appropriate security measures are in place in a lot of different ways, right? And it seems that few organizations employ more than just a handful of steps to secure these implementations, which is dangerous. And then even among organizations that describe themselves as advanced in their maturity, which peace grant, there's levels to advanced, right? But fewer than half felt prepared to defend those AI applications. As we move through these maturity levels and the hype around this technology kind of falls, and we expect to see a big increase in security practices. So, Emil, if you would, like, how can teams prepare for this more sophisticated AI systems and security threats? Like, how can we future-proof ourselves?
Yeah, future proof is a funny word here just because of how quickly everything's moving. So,
It's fair.
before even going to the specifics, I would say it's impossible for one team developing and deploying AI who's so focused on the applications to become simultaneously like an expert in security because something new is out every day. So, I mean, definitely, partner uh, with like, someone you trust to help you kind of stay ahead of that curve, and make sure you're protected against like threats that we don't even know exist today, right? But I think like practical suggestions, I would make when you're implementing this kind of stuff is it's so tailored to like your specific deployment of AI, right?
Mhm.
But think about how you're applying it, right? Like, is it internal? Is it external? Are you just using like you know, data that's pretty innocuous, or are you connecting your, let's say your RAG application to a database that's internal sensitive data, right? Because obviously, you want to make the most contextually relevant AI app to your
Yeah.
employees or to your customers. And so, more context means more data that's personalized. So think about the application, think about your risk threshold at your organization, in collaboration, I guess, with your security team. And then like look to frameworks, like those from OWASP, MITRE, NIST, as sort of guidance.
Hmm.
And then, something that we talk about a lot is just like, you know, risk, security and safety risk exist across the AI lifecycle, right? And when you hear me say safety and security, we use the term safety here in terms of like toxicity, bias, hallucination, um, and then security, obviously, in terms of like, privacy violations, that kind of stuff.
Right.
So that's what I mean when I say that. Um, just consider all the areas across the AI lifecycle that safety and security risk exist, and make sure you have mitigations in place. And of course, educate your workforce. I mean, this goes for any emerging
Yeah.
technology. Just make sure people at your company are trained in responsible use of AI tools, because like, the second an AI tool is available to them, or not like officially available, I'm sure employees are using unsanctioned tools all the time. So just make sure you get ahead of that.
Awesome. And Pratik, I wanted to hear kind of that's, a lot heavy on security, but like, what are
Yep.
some of these other things that we need to look out for and advice for these teams in the early stages of adoption, right? They're trying to get some use out of Gen AI, right? Whether it's, just, building a spreadsheet or something, but kind of how would they get started, especially from a developer's perspective, from where you sit?
Yeah, that is what I see. Like, don't bite more than what you can chew. So you know your organization, how your data structure is there, what use cases you are handling to, and what your workforce look like, and how the nature of operations you are doing. Being a financial company, we are super sensitive of that. So we are not trying to bite more than what we can chew, irrespective of the euphoria and the fear of missing out generative AI generating for everyone. So what we are doing is like we are putting everything that is around Gen AI orchestrated by the agenting AI. So all our guardrails are in the form of agenting AI. So we are not putting any LLM or any generative AI direct plugin into any applications without putting agenting orchestrations around it. So that whether the RAG applications that is consuming the data from our databases that could have a sensitive information knowingly or unknowingly, they are going through the agenting filter of it. And what is coming out of the final LLM training and the final LLM deployment also need to be served whether it's an internal workforce or to the external customer-facing things, it is always being filtered by the agenting AI. So we are heavily relying on the agenting AI to orchestrate everything that is around bespoke LLMs or proprietary LLMs or a generic open source LLMs. So that is our guardrails orchestration around everything.
Okay, awesome. Well, we'll sit here for just a couple more minutes. Matthew, Grant, anything from you guys from your perspective to watch out for here as they're getting started, or especially around security?
Yeah, so someone brought up the idea of, I think it was Emil, brought up guardrails and kind of the subject matter safety of LLMs, what they can generate, right? And so one of the things that I think is going to be important is to have an audit trail of whatever your LLM is saying to people or to agents or whatever. So kind of like when you call up a customer service line, like Capital One, and it says this call is being monitored for quality assurance. We need to do something like that with the LLMs as well to, so we can at least spot check or, try to find places where it's not giving the right answer or, giving out information that's incorrect or hallucinating. So that's an important thing to do. We can't just throw those out there and hope that they're good. We have to monitor those.
Awesome.
There are one more. There are a lot of online tools or offline open source tools that allow you to check all existing models. So they ask a question and they check the truth of this question. So and you can also try it yourself. I didn't remember the name, but I will maybe post in the chat after.
Awesome. Great. Grant, what about you?
Yeah, one other thing maybe to add in, this is such a broad topic, and you can come at it from lots of different angles. What we see kind of day in, day out is people building GenAI apps, right? And so generally the concern is around the security of the AI app. And one common pitfall, I think, is that many organizations naturally go through this process of experimentation to prove out some use case, and they use some tools to do that, and then they validate it and they go start building something. But a lot of these tools that are used for experimentation don't reinforce best practices, and they don't provide and enhance like secure coding. And they don't follow best practices like separating models from engineering tools. So, one common thing that, we see people doing all the time is like, maybe you're in some studio, you have a prompt, it works, you generate some code, and then you pop that right in your app. And now, your code is taking a prompt directly from the user. Now you're open to like a prompt injection. So, I think being able to think about security from the beginning is really important in having that foundation. And I like what was said about it's not an afterthought. You have to have it at the beginning of the life cycle. And I think that really comes down to, not everyone again is going to be a security expert, like was pointed out, but I do think there's a lot of education that can be done around practical things like, another example, like we called out things like NIST. There's a OWASP top 10 for LLM applications. It's specific security risks and threats that get exposed in LLM applications. I think all developers building GenAI applications should know about those things as an example, so they can have more proactive and secure coding.
Yeah.
So
And
I
people
think
just
really
get
having
so
those tools is
excited.
foundation in that baseline knowledge.
Yeah, they just get excited. They've built this thing. It's AI. It works. It's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Ship it.
Now put it in production, right? And then you have problems.
No,
Yeah.
time out. Yeah, I love that. And yeah, it's really no different than any new technology that's come out over the last 20 years. You get real excited. You push it in production. You're like, whoops.
Oh yeah, we've got to audit it and monitor it too, right? Well,
yeah, all the things. Yeah, it's the same thing. I do want to move. So we'll move on. Everybody's been talking. You've used LLM. I think every single one of y'all in the last minute and a half. So everybody's shaking their head. Yeah, let's go. So we took an enterprise AI survey last year in 2024, and LLM use has increased dramatically, as you guessed, year over year. Content generation, quote, was the most commonly selected use case, but prompt design and engineering, code generation, and data extraction analysis all had response rates over 50%. So, huge jumps. So, what have you observed as the most impactful benefits to adopting LLMs? And can you predict any wider use cases, farther reaching use cases as we go forward? Who wants to take a stab at it first?
I can go ahead. I've got
Go for it,
definitely
Matthew.
some
Yeah,
thoughts on
you're
it.
ready.
So one of the things we've seen recently is this trend of vibe coding. I don't know if you've all seen this or not, but the idea that you're coding something entirely with natural language, using the LLM to write the code. I don't think we're quite ready to replace all coding with natural language, thankfully, but it is a very helpful learning tool. I think that's the main thing right now. You can learn syntax, generate queries, improve productivity. I am not a Python coder, but I am leaning heavily on ChatGPT and Capella IQ to help me write some Python, and it's doing pretty good. And as far as predictions go, I think as we see this area start to mature, you're going to see a lot more agentic applications, right? Basically, we're going to turn more control over to the AI with coding prompts and tools to accomplish those tasks. And an important part of that is having like a standard and version catalog of agents and tools that your whole team or even whole enterprise can draw from. And just to add some more AI on top of that, those tools, those prompts can themselves be vectorized. And so we can do a vector search to find the tools that we need. So we can give the AI the ability to kind of adapt to what the user is hoping to accomplish and find those tools and not just tell them, hey, use this tool for this, use this tool for this, but hey, go find a tool that'll complete this task. And and then of course I mentioned already the insights and the auditing. That's an important part of it as well. So that's my prediction of where we're going to go.
Yeah, next year we will definitely be talking about agentic AI because that's part of ChatGPT's plan to take over the world. If you ask it what it would do to take over the world, pay attention, it'll scare you. Grant, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it makes sense that right now people are saying content generation is the most valuable. I think that's the most logical for people to gravitate towards. But I think some of the other areas are more interesting and have more value. So like, we talked about code generation a little bit already. That's becoming more and more commonplace, but it's still mostly used by developers. So I think maybe the value hasn't become as broad. Prompt design and engineering, I think, are really important right now.
Yep.
But as Matthew was saying, as kind of agents become more autonomous, the thing is like the LLMs are really good at writing prompts. For us. So I think we'll see that become less important. I think the data, what's most interesting for me is the data extraction and analysis, really anything that's generating an insight. I think that's what's really most important for businesses right now. And at least for the foreseeable future, I feel like that's going to be where the most value will come from.
Cool.
Yeah, for us, I think knowledge mining is the next big use case for the LLM that we are already kind of leveraging onto. So our agents, like the customer operations agents, are pretty much super efficient the moment we have introduced the knowledge mining because we have lots of proprietary knowledge. So any generic LLM can be sufficing that knowledge mining once we have attached the RAG to it. So that's where we have seen the most of the adoption in our organization. And obviously the inception was started with the prompt engineering and all. I feel like prompt scripts are the new automation script these days. So you create your prompts in a form of script. You hand it over to your executing agent, whether it's a human agent or any of the agentic AI orchestration, and that becomes an automation script for the LLMs. That is where we are seeing like the most of the utilization of LLM right now.
Wow, very cool. Santosh, anything to add?
Yeah, so just one correction. You mentioned next year is going to be the agentic AI, right? So Microsoft is pushing really hard for this year to be actually called as Agents Year. So
Okay.
they've been doing a lot of hackathons as well as this learning paths, especially related to the agents, and they want to give more documentation and more code examples to all the developers so that they can understand what kind of solutions that they can build using the agents LLM. So but apart from that, I think I would see like the next couple of years there will be a lot of advancements, like mostly in the scientific areas, and people especially in the the industry, the research, as well as in the drug discovery, they'll be using it to generate and analyze more drug development scenarios as well.
All right. Well, I look forward to seeing how far you can get this year. We'll touch base in December, Santosh. All right.
Sure.
Emil, anything to add before we move on?
Yeah, I think everyone here is done a great job showing just the value of LLMs. We're specifically looking at it. I mean, not to speak entirely for myself. I mean, Cisco is using AI in a multitude of different ways in the existing product portfolio. But purely from my own perspective, we launched our AI defense product at the start of this year, and basically we're using AI to sort of automate the red team process for other AI models. And it's been really interesting to I've had the chance to go to some conferences and talk with folks about, how it takes a long time for any AI team to sort of understand the safety and security vulnerabilities of their own model, right? Especially if you just get a random open source model off like Hugging Face or something, and you want to understand, what is it susceptible to? We did a survey with some of our customers, and it's like weeks and weeks. I can't remember the exact number offhand, but it takes weeks to basically understand and measure and then compose a report on the the vulnerabilities of a model. And that's just one time, right? Like our team's done research that shows fine tuning, which is obviously incredibly popular for improving the contextual relevance of a model. Also introduces safety and security vulnerabilities, right? So every time you fine tune, your team might have to redo that entire process of understanding vulnerabilities, right? And so that's a huge drain of time that your team could be spending on, development, deployment, like innovating with AI. So just being able to use AI to red team AI, we tried thousands of different prompts, and it's discrete and it's automatic, right? So it saves a massive amount of time to the AI team. Not to get too meta here, but
Awesome. All right, so we've got one more topic, and it might be my favorite, but it's multimodal AI. Okay, and this will be our last topic. I want to make sure everybody gets a chance to answer. According to our findings in our research report, most respondents, 95%, found some sort of value in modal AI, with AI-powered assistance, content creation, and enhanced search and recommendation systems being the most commonly selected areas of value. However, actual adoption of multimodal AI was very low. While most organizations are not using multimodal models in their production applications, developers are generally interested in their potential, especially for these AI assistants with multi-sensory inputs and outputs for content creation. And so the questions, and we'll go around the room, make sure everybody gets a chance to answer. This is our last one. Where do you predict the most potential in incorporating multimodal AI? And are there any use cases or benefits that you've observed in your own products, projects, et cetera? And as we move forward through this, what do you see are the biggest challenges coming down the pipe? All right, Boris, we'll start with you.
Yeah, thank you a lot. So, the powerful of the multimodal AI is huge, but the one big challenge with this is the cost of the electricity and the infrastructure, because as the bigger model becomes, then the cost is like 30,000, 100,000 euro or a dollar you have to pay for infrastructure. However, the future of the multiple AI is multimodal AI is huge, especially in data science and data analysis. So maybe not in the content creation, but this is what I see that's the request from our customers at least.
Very cool. All right, Pratik,
So
you're
for
ready.
us,
Get in there.
we are already adopting the multimodal AI. So for example, for us, we are unifying all the digital channels for a customer. So for example, if a customer has called IVR, but if the customer has opened their mobile app and searched for something, or the customer has gone to the FAQs or the help section of the mobile, or maybe customer has gone to onto our websites and then calling us back again. By the time they're calling us back again, we have a multimodal data mining of all the channels and what the recent activities they have done to find out, like, okay, what they have already tried, what they haven't tried, so that we can serve them effectively. And that has enhanced our customer satisfaction by multi-attitude.
Nice.
So this is where we are unifying the multi-model, where we are doing the data mining on voice, on text, and I forgot to mention, like, we also have a web chat that is AI powered. So we are trying to unify the context of everything by the help of multi-model LLM and trying to build a contextual, effective contextual background around what has been going around. Yeah.
Awesome. Very cool. Santosh, what you got?
Yeah, so we are kind of actually selling this multi-model LLM. So we are trying to create this personalized assistance. Like the future, that's what Satya Nadella also mentioned in one of his keynote recently. So in future, in another couple of years, he's expecting that everybody will have their own personal assistant. And right now, like after becoming manager, my meetings have been like kind of messy. So earlier it was crazy for me to attend each and every meeting. So now I'm kind of only targeting the ones which needs my presence, and the other ones, what I'm doing is there is this integration in the Teams chat itself where you don't have to attend the meeting. Like you just have to accept the meeting, and then there will be a summarize button with everything, like whatever they have discussed along with the task. If they ever mention your name, this task will be automatically created and assign it to you. So that's how we have been using it. So I recently published an article about this, how this multimodal AI assistance helping me to increase my productivity as a manager. So yeah, that's
Wow.
one thing to watch out for.
Very cool. All right, Grant, what y'all got?
Yeah, Santosh, if you don't join the meeting, you get the tasks, though.
True. That's 100% true.
Okay, so you got to watch out for that. That's one pitfall.
That's great.
Yeah, I think that we've already hinted at agents a bit, and I think that's where we'll see the most potential beyond AI assistance. So for me, the key difference being that agents act autonomously with a goal to take an action versus assistants act reactively with a goal to answer the user. It's always about, let me get a response to the user, not how do I make an action or take some action in my environment autonomously. So for AI agents to plan, analyze, and make decisions, they need to leverage tools. And those tools require different AI tasks with different modalities to search and analyze different types of resources. So I really think that multimodality will show the most potential with AI agents. And in terms of like the biggest adoption challenge, I think that's a mental model shift on how to best work with multimodal AI. One reason why I think it's been slow on the adoption curve is that people are still trying to figure out how to best leverage multimodal AI models. It doesn't work the way a lot of people think it does. It's not as simple as you just give the model a bunch of text, and then you also give it a bunch of images and video and audio, and it just does its stuff, right? It does its magic, and it gives the ideal answer with no hallucinations, right? The reality is that multimodal LLMs are still language models, right? Where text is the predominant modality. So for example, if you're using vision to read a text document, right, you'd get totally subpar results. You don't want to use a vision mode on a text-based document.
Yeah.
And depending on the model and the mode, having like a text description of an image might actually be better than attaching the image as a binary. Or having an audio transcription may be better than using an audio modality. So I think that the widespread adoption won't happen until we better master using multimodal models in the software to build better GenAI apps and agents. I think that's where it opens it up more to the consumer end, right? The end user, and we'll really see it take off.
Very cool. All right, Emil, and then Matthew, and wrap us up.
Yeah, I think that the question of why is the adoption slow is so interesting. We did a survey last year where we just asked, how ready do you feel for adoption of AI, and what are your big blockers, right? And there's a whole list. It's you can find on the Cisco AI Readiness Index, but I think like obviously security and safety concerns are one of the most predominant ones, and to Grant's point, like agentic is another big one that people are talking about. So it's always in the same breath, right? Like multimodal and agentic, and they have a ton of upside potential, but a ton of risk you have to accommodate too. And I know, like imagine some scenario where you run your agentic AI to complete a task for you, you step away or something, and next thing you know, I mean, this is a theoretical scenario, right? An adversary has managed to slip instructions to the agentic AI to like go through your work email and exfiltrate all those emails and send them to, to the threat actor, right? Like, so you want protections in place against these kind of things. And it's interesting too, like, we'll have to look at how adversaries use these technologies to escalate their own traditional attacks too. Like multimodal AI, streamlining social engineering and stuff like that. So it's a whole new world, and so I think to the adoption point, I think we'll have to continue to suggest resources and offer partnership with companies that have these concerns, because it makes sense, like I said earlier. I think if you want to increase relevance of these AI applications, multi-model agents, they need more context, right? And more personalized context, and stuff like your IP, your customer information. This is a true story. My fiance went to the doctor, and they had an AI tool that was like recording her visit. I think she was like on some experimental doctor. We're in San Francisco, so I guess it makes sense. And at the end of the visit, I think it handled everything from like visit summary to like next steps and follow up and everything, which was really interesting. But obviously, at a hospital, there's like HIPAA and PHI privacy stuff that you have to consider. I mean, imagine a scenario where she came home and her after visit summary belonged to another patient, right? So
it'd be really bad.
Exactly. Yeah. So anyway, that's my long-winded way of saying it makes sense that people are slow to adopt with these concerns. Partner with trusted security, AI security experts, and just stay in the loop of all these resources, and make sure you want to get that right, especially as it becomes more sensitive.
Awesome. All right, Matthew, wrap us up, man.
Yeah, I've got a lot of thoughts on multi-model and multimodal. From our point of view, AI and LLM interactions, they kind of boil down to just data, right? Just numbers and arrays of numbers, oftentimes. So I think of multi-model as, yes, we can certainly interact with models in different ways, but what if we could also combine those interactions with more traditional ways to hone in on data? This could help with hallucinations and help with accuracy and even help with security in some situations. So I could use a vector search to semantically match things, yes, but I could also, in that same query, combine it with your traditional SQL predicates or full text terms to get a holistic approach to finding answers, right? So that's how I think of a multi-model approach, is more than just different AI models or different AI interactions, but combining the traditional ones. And then finally, I think challenges of widespread adoption is, it's all about security. We talked about a lot, privacy, hallucination, and also costs. And this is why we're building in AI services to our platform. We want to improve security and privacy. Your data doesn't have to go elsewhere to a third party. You can use a private model if you want to. With hallucination, we want to provide a good RAG interface as well as auditing, so you can monitor those interactions. And costs. Again, you can have a private model, you can have semantic caching in the platform, and you can consolidate. So you don't have to spread out your data amongst 12 different tools and bring them all together. You can have all the same interactions in one platform, and that's going to improve your data that you put in, and therefore the data that comes out.
Awesome. Well, listen, thank you to each of you for coming on today. I know it doesn't feel like it, but we're out of time. But all of the different advice that you gave, I think it was a very rich set of feedback and insight. So thank you so much. Don't bite off more you can chew. Audit trails for LLMs. Keep in mind, I love this one, how fickle future-proof can be because it changes so rapidly. Tons and tons of feedback for all of you out there watching this. And thank you so much for joining us today and tuning in. We hope you learned some insightful things. I know I did. to help you grow and mature your Gen AI adoption wherever you are with your teams and your organizations. Of course, a huge and very special thanks to our sponsors, Cisco, Couchbase, and Verticia, for supporting this insightful discussion. Your support's pivotal in making these things happen, so we're real appreciative of that. If you enjoyed this discussion, you want to see more just like it, head on over to dzone.com/events to see all of our on-demand content. Please stay with us for just 1 minute and give us some feedback and tell us how we did. We'd love to hear how we can improve. Until next time.